If you ever wake up in a room that smells like metal, don't scream, don't beg, because it's not listening to your words. It's listening to your heart, counting every beat like a countdown. And when the counting stops, that's when it drinks. A man named Elias was known for his face, sharp, calm, impossible to forget. People said he looked like a movie star, but that beauty didn't save him. It marked him. Tonight you're going to hear what happened after Elias vanished, and why the people who found him later said something worse than he was dead. They said he was still alive, but he wasn't full anymore. Elias wasn't reckless. He didn't party. He didn't chase danger. He worked late, went home, and kept his life clean, like he feared mess. That night, the city felt heavier than usual. The rain didn't fall, it pressed down. On the sidewalk, he noticed people avoiding a certain alley like it was cursed. A small sign was nailed to a post near the entrance, old wood, faded ink. Elias leaned in to read it. It wasn't a warning, it was an invitation. Just 2 words, "Come down." He laughed once, quiet, nervous, then stepped away. But as he walked, he felt it, the sensation of being measured. Not watched, measured. Like something behind the windows wasn't admiring him, it was calculating. When he reached his building, the lobby lights flickered. His elevator door opened before he pressed the button. And inside, someone had placed a single object on the floor, a velvet glove, black and neatly folded, like a gift left for a guest who didn't know he'd been invited. Elias didn't pick up the glove. He didn't touch it, but he couldn't stop looking at it. The elevator climbed, and then it stopped, between floors. The lights dimmed to a sickly amber. The speaker crackled, not with music, but with a voice. Not loud, not dramatic. A calm voice that sounded like it had spoken through centuries and never once rushed. Elias. He froze. No one should know his name. He pressed the emergency button. Nothing. He tried calling. No signal. The voice returned, softer now, almost pleased. Don't waste your breath. Breath is for panic. I collect panic. Elias backed against the wall, staring at his own reflection in the mirrored panel. And then he saw it, something in the reflection that wasn't behind him in real life. A tall silhouette, still, patient. Elias spun around. The elevator was empty, but the reflection smiled. And the elevator doors opened, not to his floor, but to a hallway he had never seen in his building. No carpet, no numbers, only a long corridor and a smell like cold iron. Elias stepped out without meaning to, like the hallway had reached into his mind and pulled him forward. The corridor led to a door made of thick wood banded with steel. It had no handle on Elias's side. The door opened anyway. Inside was a room that felt curated, not lived in, curated. Glass cabinets, antique surgical tools, old books, and jars lined up like trophies, each holding something dark, floating, preserved. Elias took one step in, then another. Behind him, the door shut. A slow clap echoed from the shadows. Then the voice spoke again, closer. "You're more beautiful in person." Elias tried to speak, but his mouth was dry. He forced the words out. "Who are you?" A figure stepped into the light. Not a monster with claws, not a romantic prince, something worse. A man with skin too pale to belong to a living body, and eyes that looked old in a way that made time feel dangerous. He smiled as if Elias was merchandise. "I'm called the Collector, and you are an investment." Elias backed away. The Collector didn't chase him. Predators don't chase when the room is locked. They let the fear ripen. Elias woke up on a mattress that smelled like bleach and old sweat. A single lamp hung above him, too bright to sleep, too dim to feel safe. The Collector sat across from him, legs crossed, hands clean. No rage, no violence for show, just control. "I won't kill you quickly," the Collector said. "That would be wasteful." Elias tried to stand, but his knees wobbled. He had been drugged, not enough to knock him out forever, just enough to make him weak. The Collector leaned forward. "Your blood is refined. People like you burn brighter, so you last longer." Elias swallowed. "You're a vampire?" The Collector nodded like that word was too simple for him. "I drink carefully. I measure. I preserve." Then he said the sentence that broke Elias's hope into pieces. "I don't want you dead, Elias. I want you empty while you still breathe." Elias expected violence, but the Collector moved like a surgeon, precise, almost gentle. That's what made it terrifying. He felt cold fingers at his throat. He felt pressure. Then pain, not sharp, but deep. A draining sensation, like warmth leaving a room. Elias tried to scream. The sound came out thin, useless. The Collector drank slowly and stopped before Elias could pass out. He pulled back, mouth clean, as if he had sipped wine. Elias gasped, trembling. The Collector watched him like a scientist watching a reaction. "You'll notice something," he said. "Fear changes the taste." Elias shook his head. "No, please." The Collector's expression didn't change. "Please is just a sound. Give me silence. Silence is honest." He stood up and adjusted his coat. Before leaving, he added one final cruelty. "I'll return when your heart stabilizes. I don't drink panic all at once. I age it." And the door locked again. Days blurred, or maybe it was hours. Time didn't behave down there. One night, the door opened while Elias was awake, not for feeding, for a lesson. The collector guided him down a corridor of doors with small windows. Elias looked through the first. A man sat on the floor, skin gray, eyes open, unblinking, breathing shallow. The second window showed a woman rocking back and forth, whispering the same word. The third, a teenager with a perfect face, now hollow, smiling to nothing. Elias turned away, sick. "What did you do to them?" The collector's voice was calm. "Nothing. I only took what they didn't know they needed." Elias stared at him. What do they need?" The collector smiled slightly. "They need to learn that beauty is not protection. Beauty is a label, and labels are for collecting." Then he stopped walking and looked Elias straight in the eyes. "You're not my first. You won't be my last." Elias realized the worst truth. This wasn't feeding. This was a system, a factory, and he was being processed. Elias understood something that night. If he waited to be rescued, he would become one of the hollow ones, alive but gone. So he began counting, not the days, the feedings, because the collector fed like a ritual, predictable, measured. Elias saved a small piece of metal from the bed frame. He hid it under his tongue until it cut his gums. He didn't care. Pain meant he was still real. He practiced holding his breath to slow his heart. He practiced relaxing his body so his fear wouldn't spike. He thought, if fear makes blood better, then maybe calm makes it useless. And right here, if you want horror stories that get darker, smarter, and more brutal every upload, subscribe now. Because the next part is where Elias stops being prey and starts becoming something the collector didn't plan for. Elias waited, and when the door opened again, he didn't scream. He smiled. The collector entered, as always, calm, confident. He reached for Elias's throat. Elias moved fast. He pressed the metal shard into the collector's wrist, not deep, not bloody, just enough to surprise him. The collector recoiled, more offended than hurt. Elias slammed into him and sprinted through the open door. He ran down the corridor, barefoot, heart hammering. He didn't know the map. He didn't need it. He followed air. A faint draft led him to stairs, up, until he reached another door. This one had a handle. He turned it. Light flooded in. He stumbled out into the city, rain still falling, traffic still moving, as if the world had never changed. Elias wanted to scream for help, but when he opened his mouth, nothing came out. Not because his throat was injured, but because the fear was gone. Not relief, gone. Like someone had reached into his chest and switched off the human part that panics. Elias looked down at his hands. They were shaking, but he couldn't feel the shaking. He was watching his body from far away. Then, behind him, a voice whispered, right beside his ear, "You can leave the house, but you can't leave the collection." If you made it to the end, you've just seen what real horror is. Not monsters in the dark, but a human life turned into a container. Subscribe for the next story, because the next one is worse. And remember, if you ever feel watched, don't look for eyes. Listen for counting.